Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sportcat Daily Gazette. Well, I was trying an experiment over there to see if I could bring his studio into my studio, but apparently it won't work. And he couldn't hear me talking back to him, so that made it even funnier. So I will edit that out for the Spotify audience. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sportcat Daily Gazette. We are live on our YouTube channel, the Paranormal Guys. We've got a great chat following, so come over here and jump in. Denise and Chris are already here, and there'll be a few more wander in. So come in and join us. Everybody at Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, thank you for following. Thank you for allowing me to tickle your ears. If you want to come over and see why Mama says I have a face for radio, come over and find us on the Paranormal Guys with a Z. All right, well, we started off kind of wacky there. What I was trying to do was bring his studio over so that we could communicate, but it wasn't working, and I don't know why. So we'll figure it out later. It was just a little experiment. I will edit that out for our friends over at Spotify when I do the daily show. All right, well, let's see what today is. Today is April 23rd. Wow, the time is just going by so quick. So what is today? Well, today is National Lost Dog Awareness Day. Well, that's a thing. And for the lost dogs that are out there, remember you can get your pet chipped, and you can also, there's many ways. You can get a tag, a Sportcat tag, but tagging and microchipping is the best way, and in keeping records of your animal in case they turn them over to the local pound or a friendly neighborhood veterinarian. So there is that. Keep up with that. And let's see, it's National Administrative Professional Day. Well, I don't know so much about that. Here's a good one for us fat kids. National Cherry Cheesecake Day. How about that? National Cherry Cheesecake. I'm not a real big fan of cheesecake, although my mom makes a killer cheesecake. National Take a Chance Day. Okay, I'm going to have to click on National Take a Chance Day and find out what it is. Every April 23rd, National Take a Chance Day encourages us to break out of our comfort zone, kind of like me doing a show. Hashtag National Take a Chance Day. Most of us have unaccomplished goals or dreams. What if this was the day to take the chance and make them happen? I'm going to Vegas. I'm jumping out of an airplane. No, just kidding. So how to observe National Take a Chance Day? Well, celebrate your goals and dreams by taking a chance. Share a time you took a chance and it paid off. Yeah, you can send that to me over on X, or you can email it to me. And, no, we don't want to talk about having babies. That's not something the Sportcats want to do. What are the chances you'll win the lottery? Well, first, it depends on whether or not you play. Second, it depends on how many other people are playing. Okay, good advice, solid advice. So, let's see. April 23rd celebrated history. In this day in 1908, Theodore Roosevelt signed into a law establishing the U.S. Army Reserves. 1954, Hank Aaron, Hammer and Hank, launches his career home run tally with his first of 755 playing for the Milwaukee Braves. The Braves are now the Atlanta Braves, and they beat the Cardinals 7-5. 1981, doctors at Mass General transplanted artificial skin developed by Giannis, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, and a research team for MIT, and they created artificial skin using a combination of cowhide, shark cartilage, and plastic. So that's what those robots are with AI. Today is William Shakespeare's birthday. James Buchanan, he was the 15th president of the United States. And ironically enough, we were just talking about Pennsylvania, the only one elected from Pennsylvania. All right, well, and let's see. Granville Woods, he was an American inventor and made nearly 60 patterns. But you're right. Clicking on it, I did take a chance, Chris. Valerie Bertinelli, she was one day at a time. She was born this day in 1960. All right. I did not know that. Well, I do now. Let's see. National Picnic Day. Well, the weather, we'll talk about the weather. It's not, depending on where you are, it may not be a great day. And I don't know how to talk like Shakespeare, so I guess I can't take a chance with National Talk Like Shakespeare Day. I should hey Brenda, I'm glad you're awake. So I should have oh man, I'll have to see if we got time. Remind me, I'll go over to Facebook, and one of my friends is a theater guy, and we'll see. He did a video I saw on Facebook, so I'll harass him. Let's see. And I don't know who makes up all these national days, but I found another site that's got more of them. Well, we talked about the Army Reserve's birthday. It's Canada Book Day. It's actually World Book Day. It's Impossible Astronaut Day. Hey, nothing is impossible because, well, you know what? Katy Perry did it. So she took a chance. She went to space. So there you go. International Creator Day, International English Language Day. Is that politically correct? International Pixel Stained Techno Peasant Day. I have no idea what the hell that is, and I'm not going to click on it because it scares me. Movie Theater Day, National Brian Day. Well, I don't know any Brians. I do know some Brians. We talked about it being National Cheesecake Day. What did she say? I'm not. I went to Ned at 7:30 this morning. LOL. Oh, tell Ned I said hello. National Email Day. Well, make sure you have your emails in order. It's National English Muffin Day. We talked about National Lost Dog Day. National Lovers Day. Well, it must be the day for Virginia because Virginia is for lovers. Yes, Brenda, I know it was bad. National Picnic Day. National Sovereignty and Children's Day. Okay. Well, we just said that. Take a Chance Day. And this is a good one. Pet Tech CPR Day. Well, that's a good thing to learn. You need to learn CPR, and you need to learn how to do first aid if your pet is choking. St. George's Day and Secretary Day, Shakespeare Day, Slay a Dragon Day. Well, I haven't seen one in a while, so I'll keep that on my list. And let's see, I'm just Talk Like Shakespeare. We're going to have to figure out what talking like Shakespeare is. So he says, I find it rather discriminatory if Brian is the only spelling of the name being celebrated. That's a good point. Good point. And how does, hold on, this is going to drive me crazy. I got to find out, how does Shakespeare talk? Let's see if I can pull up my friend and harass him for a few minutes. How does he spell? He spells Mark with a C, I think. I don't know. Let me just pull up his last name. I don't know how to spell his first name. Apparently, he spells it with a K. All right, let's see. Let me drag this over here, and then let me close that because that's not relevant. Let's make this full screen. This is my buddy. Hold on a minute. I don't know. First off, can you guys hear that? That's my first question. And then let me go. Can everybody hear that, by the way? Let's see. This is my buddy. He's an English teacher in Chicago, and he is also a Shakespearean actor. And what do they call those people that do the plays and stuff? You can't. Let's see. We'll try this again here. Can you hear him? Anybody able to hear that? No sound. Well, that sucks. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to fix that. How do I fix? I know how to fix that. Hold on a minute. I'll get this fixed. Ha ha ha. There is a way. So if anybody wants to go and tell my friend Mark Andel I'm making fun of him, please go right ahead. All right, let's see if I can do it this way. No. Set later. And let's try it this way. All right, let's pull this over. We're going to try this again. And if it doesn't work, we'll give up on it. But how do I make this full screen? F11 still works. And let me turn the sound up. Can anybody hear that? Let me know. Is there any sound from my buddy Mark? If it's not working, just say so. We'll move on. I'm just trying to have a little fun with it. Nope, no sound. All right, well, I don't know what the hell's going on. Well, we'll give it up. I will. Can you download a Facebook video? I don't know. All right, we'll give it up. I'm not gonna. I wanted to harass my friend so badly. I don't know how to do it though. All right, well, Mark, I'm sorry. We tried. All right, so I don't know what National Shakespeare Day is, so I give up. All right, so we get back to it's World Table Tennis Day. I like ping pong. I don't understand pickleball, though. It's Shay Young's birthday. Well, okay. And George Lopez's birthday. Gigi Hadid, I don't know who that is. Jano's birthday. Yared Lazarde, her birthday. John Cena's birthday. How old is John Cena? Because he said he was about to retire. 67. He's 10 years older than me. So he's what, 65? Good Lord. I didn't realize he was that old. So, wow. Okay. Well, he said he was going to retire now that he's gotten the, was it the World Championship again? Or what do they have? The WWE title. He's won the title championship. Some people say he stole it, but he said he's going to retire now that he is a champion. So, okay, good for him. He turned heel right before he retired too. So, okay, one of the things we talked about was National Book Day. Well, it's World Book Day. So let's find out a little bit. He's a 17-time WWE champion. Is that the Brenda says everyone runs around with a skull in their hand. Okay, I guess that's how you celebrate National Shakespeare Day, but you got to talk funny. So, all right, man, that's going to annoy me because that was really good. I wanted to know how. All right, well, we'll figure it out. I'll get him out here eventually. All right, so World Book Day. Well, World Book Day 2025, it falls annually on April 23rd, and it has more relevance than just for book lovers. Well, it pays tribute to the written word, celebrates the joy of reading, and emphasizes the importance of literature in our lives. The day was first promoted by UNESCO as a way of promoting reading, publishing, and copyright across the globe. The first World Day was 1995 when it was established by the General Conference of UNESCO, and it was officially declared on April 23rd, 1995. The date was chosen to honor two great literary figures. And let's take a guess. One of them was Shakespeare. That's right. Both of whom died in the year 1616. What about Charles Dickens? The first World Book Day was celebrated in 1996. And while it started out small, it's been giving much importance since 2000. The UK and Ireland began to celebrate the day first Thursday of March in order to avoid coincidence with school holidays. 2 years later, World Day was set up to coordinate celebrations in these two countries, the UK and Ireland, and several developments have followed. To obey, they're talking about COVID when it happened. So the significance is, well, everybody enjoys to read regardless of age. Schools organize books activities. Anybody remember when their schools had the book fairs where you would go and you pay like 25 cents for all this was back in 1920, and you just had tables of books, and they were all kids books. They were great. So I got my first book on Bigfoot, actually, Woodlawn Elementary. So let's see, the theme of 2025, read your way. It encourages readers to choose books based on their preference and promotes reading for pleasures. The theme underlines the importance of giving children and young readers the power to decide for themselves to establish a culture of ongoing reading. Statistics show that globally, people have developed healthy engagement with literature. World Book Day continues to ignite global conversation on the power of books and why reading should be a habit for everyone, whether through book swaps. My neighborhood actually has like little birdhouse setups in front of houses where it's a little shelf, with a roof and a cover and a door. And people come. I don't have one because, I can't build. I'd have to buy one. But you put your books out there and people bring them, they trade them. And so it's kind of cool. Well, you know what? Speaking of World Book Day, I almost said Bird Day, of World Book Day. Well, here's a funny fact. Tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we are having a show with two book lovers. Comic books. The first one, she has got a comic book out called Alienated. It's about, aliens come to Earth, but they're all dead except for one guy, and he's in a nursing home. Have to follow along here. It's a good book. So Taki has got that out. Our second hour is going to be off the charts. I mean, just knock it. Hammer and Hank couldn't have hit a better home run. Omar is coming on, and he's talking about his new book, Major Thomas. It's a graphic novel, which means there's pictures and words, and it's great. I have pimped this on my radio station, on Ross's, on Jurg's radio channel, everywhere. Go buy the book. It is going to be well worth it. The art is fantastic. The storyline is amazing. And it's got some cliffhangers in it. Major Thomas, if you can get it on Amazon and you got a Kindle, highly encourage you to do so. It is a great book. So we're going to have him on at 10 o'clock. We're only going to have him on for an hour, but I suspect we're going to have to play some music and go over a little bit because I got so many questions for him. So, and he also is a teacher. So he has geared some of the book towards teaching. And comic books are primarily geared towards young readers, but they suck us old guys in too. So, all right, so let's start off with a little funny stuff here. Oh, yes, that's correct. Everybody, please remember to come over to the Para Are Normal guys. Para Are Normal, 3 words, guys with a Z. Like and subscribe. And remember, tonight you have to hit that notification bell because, well, we start off playing a song like we did today, like we do on all our shows. And it gives you about a minute to get to your TV, your phone, your whatever electronic device so that you can be ready and there to engage our audience. So, because tonight, I promise you, now, like I said, I have pimped this on the Thin Line Rock Station, on Jurgens Radio, Rainbow Radio, now Radio X in Australia. It's going to be off the chart. You are going to love Omar. Not that you're not going to love Taki. Her book is great, but Omar, man, there's few books I rant and rave about like this one. So please come tonight, join the chat. And if I'm wrong, call me out, but I think everybody will love this one. All right, so news and commentary. This comes to us from our friends at the Daily Wire. Remember, most of the time I am reading articles from other authors, and they've been published in certain publications online, Daily Wire for this one. So I'm reading a lot of times their opinion and commentary. I try and get fair and down the middle. Sometimes I go one way or the other, but at any rate, just remember that you always need to do your own homework on things. But this story caught my eye. Democrats, and this is a couple days, this is dated yesterday after we went off the air. Democrats mocked for claim that Americans dyed potatoes for Easter. What? The Democratic Party took a virtual beating on Monday over what was supposed to be a slam dunk zinger at President Donald Trump's expense. A post claiming that persistently pricey eggs had driven desperate American families to dye potatoes for Easter instead. The post shared by this is on X, Twitter, the Democrats on X took aim at Trump's administration for going ahead with the annual Easter egg roll and allegedly racking up a considerable bill for thousands of eggs used there, while people were left contented with their leftover painted spuds and disappointment. Trump's White House is this is their tweet or their X, whatever you call it. Trump's White House is using 30,000 real eggs worth over 15,500 for their Easter egg roll. Meanwhile, Americans dyed potatoes instead of eggs this Easter to save money. That was a tweet from the Democrats. I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing. But several critics quickly pointed out the White House did not actually spend any money on the eggs at all used for the annual event. They were donated. And I don't know a single American. Does anybody know? Please, if anybody in the channel, the chat, or let me know if you dyed a potato. I want a picture of it. But I do not know. But I knew no. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be professional. I do not know a single American dyeing potatoes, but I do know that the farmers who donated the eggs said they were not the sizes sold at grocery stores. Not a single egg was stolen off the table of an American family, according to MRC TV managing editor Brittany Hughes. So that was what she replied back in her tweet. And somebody by the name of Robbie Starbuck dyed potatoes. Well, while he's also stated the eggs were donated, he noted that Biden administration had blown through more than twice the number of eggs at the last Easter egg roll in 2024. Also, Biden's administration had 64,000 eggs at the 2024 Easter egg roll. In both cases, the eggs were donated. Stop treating people like they are stupid and just insulting. Riley Gaines responded, show me a single person who dyed a potato for Easter. Please, I want to see one. Several people suggested that the Democrats were taking a risk in assuming that those potatoes did not identify as eggs. Oh my God. While others noted that on a strict one-to-one basis, potatoes might actually cost more than eggs. So a man can become a woman, but a potato can't become an egg. You sound like a bigot, one said. I am reading replies to this tweet. That was from McGillis at MAGILLS. So I'm certain, I'm increasingly certain Republicans have successfully placed one or more moles in the Democrat communications apparatus, another tweeted. So where did the Democrats' outlandish laying come from? Well, apparently from a throwaway article published by the New York Times that was loosely based on social media video that gave step-by-step instructions on how to dye egg alternatives. The New York Times had an absurd headline claiming Americans are dyeing potatoes due to the price of eggs this year. But the only mention of potatoes in the article was a reference to a video for egg dyeing alternatives that was starting to circulate on social media. I'm going to have to search that out. The less dye potato instead trend actually started 2 years earlier when egg prices hit records high, an average of $4.82 a dozen in 2022 and 2023. On April 2nd, 2023, Axios published an article titled "Potatoes Sprout as Cheaper Eggs Substitute." All right, so please, somebody, if you did dye a potato, please share it with us, because I would have, if I had been home, my grandson was dyeing eggs, but if I had known this, we would have dyed potatoes just for fun. All right, so that came to us from the Daily Wire, and please show me if you know of if one potato was dyed during the making of Easter or during the celebrating of Easter. So we're going to get into this a little bit more, but officials today have warned 70,000 people in New Jersey against going outside. And that's because the air quality for Atlantic City and surrounding areas is horrible right now due to, well, where did I go? I don't know where I went. Hello, I'm back. All right, that was weird. I just went away. Maybe it was because I made fun of potatoes. It's got me. All right, so we're back on live here. Yeah, we're still live. All right, so why it matters. New Jerseyans, they want 70,000 people to stay indoors because of all the fires. And I don't know if you followed any of this on news or whatever, but man, the fires have been out of control. They've burnt through roughly 8,500 acres. That was as this morning, and they're still going to expand because of dry conditions and high winds. And you know, they were not in our fire danger weather report the other day. Chris says, "I'm so happy when January 20th rolled around and the media allowed us to complain about high prices again." Amen. And it allowed us to vent about having to dye potatoes. All right, so if you're in we as I say, in East Tennessee, if you go outside, you're going to die because of the yellow sky with the pollen. Well, there's a good chance you could be in trouble if you go outside in Jersey, because, well, if you look here, the whole eastern seaboard of Jersey is pretty much on fire. So, and then lots of lower Virginia is at risk, but New Jersey is right now suffering badly. So, yeah, we'll get into that more in the news. And I got a couple videos of some weather things, and I think I have a fire video. All right. And I found this because this is kind of, I don't know if I would call it heartwarming or I don't know. A woman hugs the man who fatally shot her brother and 22 more in a racist attack at a Texas Walmart. Speaking to the gunman who killed her brother and 22 other people, Yolanda Tignero did not raise her voice or condemn him for his racist attack at Walmart in 2019. Instead, she told him Tuesday that she forgave him and wished she could give him a hug. The judge, in a surprising turn in an El Paso courtroom, allowed her to just do that. Brenda, does that guy look familiar? Their brief embrace, while Patrick Cruzius was still shackled, was among many emotionally charged moments during the 2 days of impact statements given by the victims, family members, and survivors. Some described their pain and devastation, while others assured him the community had met his hatred with love and unity. Later, another person also hugged the man who pled guilty in one of the deadliest mass shootings in America. Crucius, a white community college dropout, had posted online a screed about Hispanic invasion of Texas before opening fire with an AK-style rifle at the store near the U.S.-Mexico border August 3rd, 2019. He didn't address the families or survivors at his plea hearings Monday. He will serve multiple life sentences after pleading guilty to capital murder and 22 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. We would have opened our doors to you to share a meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, Mexican style, so then your ugly thoughts of us that have been instilled in you in the world would have turned you around, one told him. She wanted to hug him very tightly. She said her brother, a 60-year-old, was a kind, sweet-hearted person whose wife of over 30 years is brokenhearted over his loss. Now she lives alone in their home full of memories that she cannot forget. I feel in my heart to hug you tightly so you can feel my forgiveness, especially my loss, but I know it's not allowed, she stated. I want you to feel all of us who have been impacted by your actions. Later, the judge asked her, ma'am, would it truly bring you peace and comfort if you could hug him? To which she replied, yes. Her daughter, Melissa, told reporters, I don't know how she was able to do it. I could not do that. But she showed me something he could not show his victims. A survivor, not a victim. She said that she did not want to address him, but rather read a letter to Stephanie Menendez, told him that she didn't want to address him, but rather read a letter to her father, 63-year-old David Johnson, who was killed when he shielded his wife and 9-year-old granddaughter from the gunfire. She thanked her father for making her study, giving her a curfew, and telling her when she was 16 that she needed to get a job. You made me into a strong woman I am today, she said. Her daughter, Caitlin, now 14, says, I am a survivor, not a victim. I'm going to walk out these doors and move forward with my life and not let you haunt me anymore. One person called him a disgrace to humanity, and Dean Rector, whose 63-year-old mother, Marjorie Record, was among those killed, expressed anger and forgiveness as he addressed him. Brenda, does he look familiar? You're a disgrace to humanity and to your family, he said, adding that he hopes he wakes up each morning wishing he was dead, but also said that he forgave the gunman who will spend the rest of his life behind bars. In order to be forgiving, you have to forgive others, he said. That's the only reason I forgive you. May God have mercy on your soul. Thousands of people attended the funeral after her partner of 22 years, Antonio Basco, invited the public to the service, saying he felt alone after her death. Lillian Munoz said that she felt sad. He left me feeling sad and bitter. She said that in court they were shopping for snacks when he opened fire, forever changing her life physically, economically, and emotionally. In her statement, she said she used to be a happy, dancing person, but now she was afraid every morning when she awakens. Since she was shot, she had to use a cane to walk and wears a leg brace to keep her left foot from dragging. It left me sad and bitter, said the 41-year-old mother. But she also granted him forgiveness. You brought us together, according to Javier Rodriguez, who was 15 and starting his sophomore year in school when he was shot and killed at, well, I guess Javier Rodriguez didn't say that, his father did, when he was shot and killed at a bank in Walmart. On Tuesday, his father, Francisco Rodriguez, shouted at him, "Look at me, I'm talking to you." He told him that he and his family have to go to the cemetery to commemorate his son's birthday. Okay, he was talking about his son, Javier, who was 15. I wish I could just get 5 minutes with you, me and you, and get all of it over with. But Rodriguez also referred to comments made about his impact on El Paso during his sentence. Like the judge said yesterday, you came down to El Paso with the intention of tearing us apart, but all you did, you brought us together. All right, so that comes to us from the AP that was published this morning. Well, I was saying the likeness, Brenda, but Yeah, that's from our friends over at the AP, and it's a sad story. So I hate to do that, but a hug is an emotionally charged thing. So this is a story we covered the other day that was kind of weird. Swimmers' remains are found after shark attack in waters off of Israel's Mediterranean coast. Jerusalem, according from the AP, a man in Israel has died after he was attacked by a shark. Police said the victims and police and the victim's wife said Wednesday after he went swimming in an area that draws dozens of marine predators and also curious beachgoers. After a 2-day search, police said the remains had been found at the site of the attack on the country's Mediterranean coast, matched those of the man. Israel media identified him as Barak Tazah, a man in his 40s and a father of 4. A shiver of endangered dusky and sandbark sharks had been swimming close to the area, attracting onlookers who approached the sharks and drawing pleas from conservation groups from authorities to separate the people from the wild animals. In recent days, the water has drawn large crowds who were seen swimming with the sharks. Some tugged on their tails, and some even threw them food and talked to them. The authorities have condemned the behaviors and have issued warnings not to approach sharks. Swimming is banned at the beach, but bathers enter the water regardless. They fed the sharks, pulled on their tail, and didn't expect to get bit. I don't get it. Don't get it. All right, we'll go to this comes to us from the Daily Star. We'll title this one Weird. Bizarre. Queen Camilla vampire conspiracy explained as loons claims she's been initiated. The theory that Queen Camilla is some kind of vampire has run wild in recent years, and Camilla has now been linked to it, with her marriage said to be part of a, quote, initiation. A bizarre conspiracy theory linking Queen Camilla to Vlad the Impaler has emerged, and all to do with a supposed vampire ancestry of the royal family. Exactly. The vampire theory stemmed from a verifiable genealogical link. King Charles III is a distant descendant of Vlad the Impaler, the 15th century Wallachian prince, infamous for his brutal tactics and later immortalized and inspired in the inspiration of Bram Stoker's Batman. Good Lord, Dracula. I don't know what you're talking about, Brenda. This connection was traced through Charles's great-grandmother, Queen Mary of Teck, and confirmed by genealogists, with Charles himself playfully acknowledging on a 2011 ITV interview during a visit to Romania. So he noted his stake in Transylvania and his 16th cousinship to Vlad, emphasizing his conservation work there. However, the theory has run wild in recent years that Camilla has now been linked to it, with her marriage said to be part of initiation. They claim that her marriage to Charles in 2005 inducted her into the vampiric bloodline, either symbolically or through some mystical royal ritual. This plays into her public image as an outsider who overcame scandal to join the inner circle. It has been claimed, mainly by strange people on social media, that the marriages granted her hidden powers and was part of a secret ritual, including blood oaths, occult symbols, or ceremonies. Another part of the initiation claims that she was deliberately selected by the royals, or a shadowy elite, to join the bloodline due to her loyalty to Charles, while others claims that her going from princess to queen consort and then queen shows she solidified her power and showed that she was now fully integrated into the vampiric bloodline. Another bizarre claim is that her pale complexion is another example, as vampires are often portrayed as very, very white. One user on social media said, Camilla's pneumonia, or is she allergic or is she allergic to sunlight like the rest of the royal vampires? Another wrote, the Windsors are all about bloodline. Charles, Camilla, all of them connected to Vlad, maybe even deeper. Ever wonder why they are so secretive? The royals have never commented on the claims, but her son Tom Parker Bowles commented on the Go To Food podcast in December, When asked about Camilla's illness at the time, I think so. I think, yeah, these things go around. These bugs, I think. She did the Australian tour and she caught some kind of awful bug and then she was well again. She worked too hard and she's one to do no great conspiracy theory. Well, that settles it, maybe. All right, so that comes to us from the Daily Star. So Brenda's jumping up and down on one leg. Yeah, that could be, Brenda. It could be. All right, so we'll jump over to some Tennessee news, which is also kind of national news. Tennessee board recommends that the governor pardon country star Jelly Roll. Nashville, Tennessee, the Tennessee Board of Parole on Tuesday recommended a pardon for the country music star Jelly Roll, a Nashville native who has spoken openly about his criminal record and what it has taken to overcome it. The board's action leaves the final decision on the pardon up to Governor Bill Lee. The rapper turned country star wants to be able to travel internationally to perform and share his message of redemption after spending time behind bars as a young person. The board issued its non-binding recommendation unanimously after a hearing that lasted about an hour and 45 minutes with several witnesses, including Nashville Sheriff Darren Hall, advocating for the 40-year-old musician named Jason D. Ford. One board member recused themselves among the voting. Jelly Roll broke into country music with the 2023 album Whitsip Chapel and crossover songs like Need a Favor. He has won multiple CMT awards, a CMA award, and earned 4 Grammy nominations, including for New Artist of the Year. This was incredible, he said of the board's decision. I pray this goes through, but today was special for me regardless. His most serious convictions include a robbery at age 17 and drug charges at age 23. In the first case, a female acquaintance helped Jelly Roll and 2 other young men enter a house in 2002. Both of the others were carrying guns. Although Jelly Roll was unarmed, they demanded money and received $350 in a wallet with no money in it. Because the victims knew the female acquaintance, she and Jelly Roll were arrested right away. He was sentenced to serve a year in prison and additional time on probation. Later in 2008, police on patrol found both marijuana and crack cocaine in his car. He was sentenced to 8 years of court-ordered supervision. He also has 2 misdemeanor offenses for driving without a license and possession of drug paraphernalia. Lee, a Republican, said every case seeking clemency, such as pardons, is equally important and goes through the process. The reporting on Jelly Roll, that's encouraging for this situation, but there are steps yet to happen in that case, he told reporters on Tuesday. Jelly Roll told the board that while in a detention center he fell in love with songwriting, it started with a passion project that felt therapeutic and would end up changing my life in ways I never dreamed imaginable and opened doors that I've never thought possible, he said. These days, he often visits jails and rehabilitation centers before performing concerts. He has bought restaurants out for the day to feed people who are homeless and played basketball with kids at a youth center over the same day that he performed in Winnipeg. He said he generally doesn't seek out news coverage when he makes these visits. As part of the pardon application, friends and civic leaders wrote to the board about Jelly Roll's transformation and generosity. Hall, who runs Nashville Jail, wrote that Jelly Roll had an awakening in one of the jails he managed. Live Nation Entertainment CEO and President Michael Rapino also wrote in his favor, pointing out all the money he has given from his performances to charities for at-risk youth. One of the reasons Jelly Roll gave for needing a pardon is to be able to travel to Canada to perform, which his criminal records make difficult. Currently, he would need to apply for a special permit that can include long wait times for a decision, according to a letter from an immigration attorney submitted with his clemency packet. I want to be an inspiration for people who are now where I used to be, to let them know that change is truly possible, he told the board. One of the reasons I'm asking for your recommendation for this pardon is because I'm looking to take my message of redemption through the power of music and faith to the rest of the world. He said he would use the pardon for much more than going on tour. I'll still be using this same pardon, God willing, to do missionary work in my 50s and 60s, he said. Due to his criminal record, he told the board that every time he travels, it takes a team of lawyers and a mountain of paperwork to secure my entry into those countries. He said he recently was able to make his first tour into Canada and his first trip to the UK, where he spoke about a rehabilitation program. The parole board began considering Jelly Roll's pardon in October of 2024, which marks at least 5 years since his sentence expired. Lee has issued more than 90 pardons since taking office in 2019, all of them since 2021. Let's see what the chat said. Brenda said she needs coffee and medicine. Well, Brenda, take your crazy meds, and that'll fix her. Jason DeFord, Chris says Jason DeFord is not a bad enough name to feel going with Jelly Roll as an upgrade. Now Brenda says she wants a Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll for president. Oh Lord. Special permit equals government payoff that suddenly makes this post not so bad. Well, and just also remember, he will be reaping financial rewards from the pardon and probably paying some congressmen, senators along the way. Who knows? That's the way it works. Speaking of that, let's go to just the news and go back to my home state. God, my home state. Georgia Senator Warnock accused of ethics violation regarding his, quote, luxury home. The Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust and Ethics Organization is accusing Georgia Democrat Senator Raphael Warnock of accepting housing from his church and not including it on his financial disclosures. Church and politics. All right. An ethics organization is accusing Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock of accepting the housing from his church and not including it. The Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust is asking the the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Ethics for an investigation, according to the letter on the organization's website. The complaint says that Warnock moved into a $989,000 luxury home in Georgia, provided to him by Atlanta's Ebenezer Baptist Church, where he's a pastor. Why does a pastor need $1 million home? That's my question. And he was also receiving a $7,400 monthly housing allowance from the church. What? Since moving into the luxury home, Senator Warnock has not included any information about being provided housing on his financial disclosures, the complaint said. In addition to the undisclosed housing, he is reported receiving an annual income from the church just under the maximum outside earned income limit. For instance, $31,815.12 in 2023. Warnock sold his former Georgia residence and purchased a home in Washington, according to the organization. Told the director of the Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust that she is hoping the committee will act promptly on the request. There are tax laws and ethics rules which allow for a senator to accept reasonable lodging or housing, but they are only applicable in a narrow set of circumstances. They are not open-ended loopholes that can be abused, Arnold said in a statement. Among other factors, it's critical that the value of the housing provided be equal price to the work done, and then the value be disclosed. It's difficult to fathom any citizen could look at this situation. A U.S. senator that is a part-time employee of an organization which pays him a salary and happens to buy him $1 million house to live in for free after he was elected to Congress, and not to think some potentially wrong is afoot. Well, they have been unable to get comment from the senator at this time. That's from Just the News website. And yeah, it's like one of those terms, military intelligence, Chris. Ethics, rules, and governments. Yeah, it's funny. All right. Let's see. Federal judge has ordered Trump administration to restore the Voice of America. Well, that's a good thing, right? Because Voice of America used to be, before the internet was available, you turn on your shortwave radio and hear the VOA. Voice of America workers who were placed on leave or fired should return to work. In the Trump administration must restore funding to the VOA and other government-funded news outlets, a federal judge ruled on Tuesday. Well, it effectively halts the Trump administration's plan to go gut the VOA and its parent company, the government-funded U.S. Agency for Global Media. I'm sure I like that word. In addition to the VOA, Voice of America, the U.S. Agency for Global Media houses several other internal broadcasters, some of which are waging their own legal battles in against the administration in an attempt to survive. DC Judge Royce Lamberth noted on his order in DC that the VOA is not reporting the news for the first time in its 80-year existence as a result of the Trump administration's action. The Reagan-appointed judge said the outlet's website had not been updated since 15 March, and radio stations abroad that rely on VOA programming have either gone dark or only air music. He said that the administration acted without regard to the harm inflicted on employees, contractors, journalists, and media consumers around the world, adding it is hard to fathom a more straightforward display of arbitrary and capricious action than the defendant's actions here. The judge ordered the Trump administration to restore the VOA programming. All right, so of course they are grateful for it, but that's just a small step forward because they're likely to appeal, and this can go to a higher court. So right now they're trying to get the VOA back on the air, which is, I think, VOA is a good thing. All right, we'll talk about this a little bit too, but we'll hit it real quick. Measles misinformation taking hold amid outbreak, according to a poll. All right, so this was a poll. This was done to us by Axios, and it wants to know if they are very confident MMR vaccines are safe. They broke it down by Democrats, Independents, and Republicans, and 65% Democrats say that they believe it are very competent. Independents 47%, Republicans 37%. All right, so most American adults having heard or read some false claims about measles or the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, according to a new poll. Misinformation about the virus and its treatment remains prevalent, and many are uncertain of the truth about the U.S. grapples with the persistent outbreaks. As of last week, some 800 cases were reported across 25 states, according to the CDC. There have been 2 confirmed deaths from measles, while the death of the third person who tested positive is under investigation. All 3 were not vaccinated, according to state authority. 2 doses of the MMR are 97% effective against measles, according to the CDC. Amid 6 in 10 adults say they have heard or read about the false link between autism and the MMR, according to the news poll. According to KFF news poll, 1,380 U.S. adults of 1,380 U.S. adults. 1 in 3 reporting having read or heard false claims that the measles vaccines are more dangerous than being infected with measles itself, a share that's climbed by 15 percentage points since last year. 1 in 5 have read or heard a claim that vitamin A can prevent measles and infections. No, it can't. At least half of the adults reported are uncertain whether the claims are true or false, saying either probable true or probable false. And it shows a great partisan divide, and they are broadly divided. So awareness is on the rise in measles cases, differs across the Democrats and Republicans, blah, blah, blah. We know about all that. All right, so confirmed measles cases at ground zero is target right now is Texas and New Mexico, and the Four Corners region, Oklahoma, too, up there. So the threat level among parents who say at least one of the 3 false claims about measles is definitely or probably true. 24% they have delayed or skipped some vaccinations for their kids, compared with 11 who say they probably are definitely false. All right, so Kennedy, who is our Department of Health and Human Services, recently recommended people get the vaccine, saying it's the most effective way to prevent the spread. All right, so, but he's also shown some skepticism about vaccines in the past. They have floated a false tie between vaccines and autism through the study that built the foundation for the anti-vaccine claim was thoroughly debunked in several other studies that found the vaccines are not associated with autism. The echoes of COVID-19 still reverberate throughout American society, such as lingering partisan distrust of public health institutions crossing over into public health challenges. However, large majorities of adults and parents were still somewhat confident the vaccines are safe. The confidence level is notably lower among Republicans. So, all right, well, let's go to the chat. I'm sure I got some good things over here. Regular reporting judge. The judge must be 150 years old. Yeah, exactly. Heard vitamin M prevents measles. I mean, is there a vitamin M? And why am I not hearing about this? It makes me sick, Brenda says. Well, Brenda, there are 800 cases, and the largest number of cases, I believe 225, are in Texas, and the next largest is New Mexico, is our current outbreak in the United States. We have an outbreak every year. It's just they're making more headlines here recently. All right. I'm not a doctor. I'm a paramedic, but that's just the way it is. All right. This comes to us from, well, what is this? ATWZ. Okay, no, the Navy Times. All right, what was it doing? Rapid strike on smuggling ship off of Africa highlights increased authorities given to the commanders. All right, so the TWZ newsletter, when an unflagged vessel smuggling advanced arms into the Al-Shabaab Jihad region was spotted in the waters off Somalia last week, there was no time to send a boarding party to interdict it, a U.S. defense official told the War Zone Tuesday morning. So U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, made the rare decision calling in an airstrike. The ability to do so was in large measure made possible by new authorities given to commanders to act, officials told us. This is meant to speed up a critical kill chain and increase the effectiveness of the force that has to keep ahead of the enemies on a fast-moving modern battlefield. But even when the clear benefits of increased authorities down the chain of command and forward in the field, there can be added risk. This was a time-sensitive issue, said the official, speaking on condition of anonymity, discussed the operational details. They have to do things quickly. They did not have time to pull in the boats. In coordination with the federal government of Somalia, U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, conducted airstrikes against advanced conventional weapons aboard a flagless vessel and a smaller supporting vessel inside Somalia territorial waters on 16 April. The command announced the weapons were en route to Al-Shabaab terrorists inside Somalia and posed an imminent threat to a partner in U.S. forces in Somalia. So what did they do? They did what Americans do. We blow shit up. So everyone aboard both vessels was, this is their quote, neutralized. So there you go. They declined to say what kind of weapons were involved and how the strike was carried out or by what branch. Well, I'm going to guess they used a very large bomb, maybe drones, who knows? But at any rate, so the pirates out there and the drug runners in the people carrying guns to the bad guys better be on alert. Uncle Sam is not just shaking his saber. He will pull it from its sheath and use it when needed. So good for them. The U.S. military did what we pay them to do, take out the bad guys. So, all right, that come to us from the TWZ, which is an Air Force, Army, Navy magazine. So news site. All right, so let's jump over here. What time we got? 2:00. Yeah, we're still doing good. Let's go see what FEMA's doing, because FEMA was still asleep earlier and we only had Tuesday's briefing, and it appears, well, FEMA might be busy with everything going on in Jersey, so we'll give them a little bit of a break today. The daily operations briefing is not up for Tuesday. Oh, wait a minute, make sure. Am I right here? Today is Tuesday. Today is Wednesday. Yes, today is Wednesday. All right, so it's bad. I'm getting old. I had to check. All right. Well, top of the hour, I need to remind everybody at Radio X in Australia, Jurg's Radio and Rainbow Radio. We are glad you're allowing us to tickle your ears, but come over and see why Mama said I had a face for radio. And on the YouTube channel, Para are normal, 3 different words. And guys is spelled with a Z. Join the chat in here with Denise, Chris, Brenda, and all these other people. No, Brenda, I did not stay at a Holiday Inn. I'm staying in an attic at my mom's house. So, all right. So what we do here is, and Ross and I talked about this on his channel, or I'm sorry, Jurg's and I talked about this on Jurg's Radio and Radio X Australia earlier. A lot of YouTube channels or prepper channels and they tell you about why we died today or why we're going to die today. That is not my goal on this channel. My goal is to give you an emergency management update report that the president has given. We don't get the secret mojo stuff. I wish. And then we just discuss it. So I am kind of like an anti-prepper channel telling you, not that I'm not encouraging you to go out and buy your rice, beans, water, blah, blah, blah. It's a good idea because storms come through and other things happen. But we don't go to the extremes as some of the others that tell you that, well, today we're all going to die, but yet they still have 3 videos that day with millions of views. All right, so after we cover the daily brief daily, we talk about the president's schedule. Well, today is Wednesday, April 23rd. I just figured that out. At 9 a.m. is always the in-pool camera time. My buddy was there earlier, I heard. At 11 a.m., he received his intelligence briefing. Maybe that's why we were delayed today. And then at 5 p.m., with the White House press pool, he's going to sign more executive orders. Oh, boy, can't wait to hear that. All right, so let's jump over to Noah and see, well, we'll do our own daily report on the weather. First off, we'll look at the big, beautiful round globe, and we'll see that, well, it's cloudy out there. If you're in the United States, there's cloud cover over most of the United States, specifically from Texas up through the center of the country and off the coast of Maine. There's some high wind shear coming off the Rocky Mountains we'll talk about if you're in an airplane traveling across country. Let's see what it looks like down under. It looks like a pretty clear day, except for off of the northern coast. And if you're in Australia, it looks like a pretty clear day. All right, so let's jump over to our radar here in the United States. And we see that currently the storms are down in the Houston area off the coast, headed towards Louisiana. Pretty intense storms. And they're only going to gain pressure, or they're only going to gain intensity because of the pressure that's pushing the warm water out of the Gulf of America. So they're going to get stronger as the day goes by. There's a strong cell currently, and it looks like it's the Alabama-Mississippi border, just above, what is that, Mendian. All right, so we'll get to it. All right, our daily news briefing for the weather is, yes, it's going to be a chance for potential severe weather pretty much across southwest Texas today. So that's right. So it's west side. Well, pretty much across west side of Texas today, because as it goes through the day, that intensity is only going to increase with the warm waters off the Gulf of America. And it will probably extend with some severe weather all the way up to the Great Lakes, headed to the east. So if you're in Tornado Alley, you might want to be on alert. It's going to get worse tomorrow significantly because the cold front is pushing off wind shear off the Rockies, and it's hitting that warm pressure, that warm moist air coming off the Gulf of America. And right at the center of the country there, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, you will be in the danger zone for heavy rains and flooding and possibly some severe weather. And it only gets a little bit better because the chance is less severe, but pretty much this side of the Mississippi, the east side of the Mississippi, it's going to be a soaker. Over on the west side of the Mississippi, the lower half of the country, good chance of precipitation. The higher elevations from California all the way over to Wyoming, including Oregon, Idaho, and Nevada, you can see a little bit of mixed precipitation. All right. Look down under, and currently satellite, like we said, it looks like a pretty clear day. Look at the radar real quickly in Australia. The only rainfall right now is off the coast of Perth and a little bit over in Cairns and Brisbane and maybe some down towards Sydney. But they're not anticipating any significant precipitation unless you're along the east coast, the Gold Coast, Brisbane, and Sydney, but it will probably be relatively mild. Currently, it's in the 80s in the northwest section of Australia, and over on the east coast, it's in the 70s, with the center of the country being nice and calm in the 50s. All right, let's zoom out here and go up to the United States and see what our current temperatures are. Here in Knoxville, it's right around 72. Atlanta, 76. 81 down in Montgomery 80 in New Orleans. Down in the Keys, it's Tampa's the hot spot, but down in the Keys, it's right in the 80s. And you skip up to Washington, D.C., it's about 75. Philadelphia, you're going to be in the 70s, or it's currently in the 70s. Boston, 65. Over in Vermont, 55. And we'll go over to the other coast and see it's kind of cool, as usual, up in Seattle, 55. Portland, 60. 58. Medford. Drop down into Crescent City area. It's going to be in the 50. It's in the 50s. So the hot spot right now appears to be deep South Texas, where it's in the 80s, and Tampa. Tampa right now currently has the highest temperature. Now, I saw a map that showed what all states had hit 90, and pretty much all of the South has hit 90 so far this year. Mostly the lower third of the 48 had seen 90 so far this year. And some of that's due to a temperature anomaly. We're getting warmer waters rushing into the Gulf of America quicker than they normally do. So the warm water, and there's been some fronts that have pushed that energy up. That's also going to cause, well, you guessed it, the thunder boomers. As we saw, precipitation and radar is pretty strong northeast of Houston and, well, west of Mobile, but extending all the way across right now. Spotty storms from pretty much lower Alabama all the way across to the North Carolina border, some spotty showers. Now, the heaviest precipitation for the day is anticipated to be in the Houston metro area. Killeen, you're not going to get too much rain. Over Mississippi, pretty much rainy. Northern Alabama, not lower Alabama, upper Alabama, you can expect some precipitation. And of course, across the Appalachia, some precipitation in and down towards Atlanta. Where they need it right now, up here in New Jersey and New York, there is no precipitation. So Brenda says, we got our rain last night. Well, right now, the humidity level in the New Jersey, New York area is pretty low. Those winds we'll talk about here in just a minute are pretty strong. So that's cause for some fires like they do have out west. So they're having some severe weather right now, or severe fire weather right now. And did we do the, no, we didn't. Okay. All right. So there's that. Let's jump over here to weather warning and we'll see what's going on. Brenda says her house was flooded again last night. I'm sorry, Brenda. All right, so they've just issued a special weather statement for Louisiana. Doppler radar has indicated a strong thunderstorm over Greensburg, moving northeast at 10 miles an hour. Winds up to 40 miles an hour and hail. That was the most recent thing. Close this one. Go to the next one. Louisiana, they've had gale warnings. That's off the coast of the Carolinas. Gale warnings due to the high winds, which we'll talk about as it goes further north. All right, there you go, Brenda. I heard you ask Andy about it, and he says he doesn't have anything to do with it, but I don't know. It's right there. It's right there out in his neighborhood. I still think he has something to do with it. So, just me though. So, and Chris also believes that though. Strong thunderstorm warning for Georgia in the counties in the central and east Georgia. They're going to be expecting some strong thunderstorms. And of course, there's going to be a special weather statement pretty much for southern Georgia. But right now, it's not, the energy is just not there. Flood advisories in North Carolina, Texas, Kansas. You have a severe thunderstorm warning. Special weather statements all throughout the South, Georgia, South Carolina, and then marine warnings up in the Chesapeake Bay because of the winds up there, severe thunderstorms. New York air quality, well, that's because of, we talked about it a little bit ago, because of the smoke that's coming from these fires. We'll show you that in a map here in just a moment. But pretty much Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, flood warnings. Be weather aware. And I saw something earlier today that I had not seen. Chris says he believes firmly that Andy is responsible. Who am I to judge? I saw something earlier that I thought was neat. It was a weather radio that had a combination of weather radio and smoke detector. And you could program it to only give you alerts. Like if you were in a flood zone, it would only give you warnings of high floods. Or if you were in a tornado zone, it would only give you alerts of tornadoes. Regardless of the type you have, you need to have a weather radio so that you can find out. Our government has a free service that alerts us all, besides for just the ones that goes out to our phones. There's one on the radios that you can hear as well when there's severe weather. When all else fails, the weather will be there on that radio. So get a weather radio, be prepared, get a flashlight, and have some type of tool nearby in case you somehow find yourself in a situation where you need to cut your way or get your way out of it. All right, so that's brought to us by weatherwarning.ameritech.com. Go there, check them out, give them a tip. They have a tip jar. It's a really good site. I use the GEMA Emergency Management Agency map because so far it's the best I have found. Not only does it show you real-time radar, it shows you other things such as like the flood warnings that's going pretty much from Illinois all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And you get all the radar showing the severe storms and stuff, but it also highlights where there's warnings. You can zoom in and see, like over here, I saw in East Georgia, there's the special weather statement for severe thunderstorm warning, but you can zoom in and out and it shows you where all of the most recent and all of the storms are currently located. The blue dots are also earthquakes. And I saw one I want to check out a minute ago because I saw that there was an earthquake in New York State that I had not heard about. And let's see what it tells us. Let's see. It was a 0.6 earthquake at 11:37 p.m. on the 18th. Okay, so it's a couple days old. I had not seen that earlier. So let's take that down. Is it a coincidence after he was confronted? Brenda, you have to call Andy out and tell him to come over here and defend himself. So is it a coincidence that after we called him out that it went down lower on the list? I don't know. We'll see. All right. So that is your current weather warnings across the continental, well, the lower 48. Up in the upper state of Alaska, well, they've had several earthquakes and they still have that storm brewing off the southern coast with a heavy freezing spray warning. Heavy freezing spray warning. That's a new one on me. Have not seen that one. I would hate to have a heavy freezing spray coming at me. I have been in ice fog. I know. I heard you, Brenda. I was listening. So I understand. I know, Brenda, you weren't the last one with it. I heard. So this is our current wind map for the lower 48. Let's see what it's showing. Currently, we see that convection is pushing down. It's made its way kind of over the Rockies, but that front out of the Gulf of America is really, really pushing hard, pretty much through anywhere east of the Mississippi. It's either a wind-free day or the wind is to the south-southwest. And if you're over on the coast, the winds are to the north-northeast. So in Columbus is currently, well, it doesn't look like there's much wind in Columbus at all. So, however, Denver is 4.9 miles an hour. The highest wind right now is 24.3. That's a gust. That's the top wind speed so far in this hour. And the average has been about 8 miles per hour in the United States. Let's translate that over. Here do we got here? Oh, we got somebody on Twitch telling me that I need to come over and get cheap views. So, yeah, well, what I need to do is get you on Twitch. If you're such a loyal follower there and you want to, wrong button, and you want to come over and help the channel, come over to YouTube and find us on the Pair Our Normal Guys and subscribe, because obviously on Twitch, you're just a bot. All right, we're going to look at lightningmaps.org. And we see right now the most energy is to the south-southwest of Houston, extending out into the Gulf of America. But that little band is spotty across the lower southern area of the country. I mean, we've got storms anywhere from Hattiesburg to Monroe over to Meridian. They have a really intense storm right now. Mississippi, uh, Tuscaloosa, well, right now it's a pretty strong storm centered over you. Northwest of Birmingham, there's a pretty strong cell. If you're up in Huntsville, Bobby, take cover. It's pretty strong lightning activity and heavy rains in Huntsville. Over in Georgia, the Rome area, and then you drop down to the southwest of Atlanta, and then you get down into LaGrange. There's a little activity. That band is pushing forward. It's trying to get to a little bit higher throughout the day, but it so far is in the lower part of the South and hasn't made it past the Virginia border. If you look off of the coast of the Carolinas, just north of Oak Island and Wilmington, there's a strong cell up there right now, causing a little bit of some thunderstorm activity. That today is going to intensify, and this energy off the Gulf of America is going to push up. This front coming out of Canada, it's getting some wind shear because of the way it's coming off the Rockies, and when it hits this energy, it's going to be very spontaneous through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, probably West Tennessee, but the strength is going to continue to strengthen across the day and extend across the northeast on a slow track. Currently, we have a storm up off of Lake Michigan. It looks like, well, it hasn't got a whole lot of intensity, but it's off the coast of Lake Michigan, just north of Muskegon. So keep an eye on that. That's the most active lightning views currently. We talk about this one to the west of Kansas City. It's got some good energy to it as well. And that's probably because of the wind shear coming off of the mountains, and it's getting that Gulf air we saw a minute ago on the other map. It's getting that warm Gulf air and moisture coming up. And when it's meeting that turbulent weather or turbulent air coming off the Rockies, it's getting some energy. As the day heats up throughout the afternoon, that's only going to intensify. And tomorrow, the chances will be slightly less for some severe activity, but it's not ruled out into the south, especially Tornado Alley. So if you live in those areas, get a weather radio. You need one. It can save your life. All right, currently, we are looking at where the power is out in the United States. Well, New Jersey, that does not surprise me. Jersey, 18,814. And that's mainly in Ocean County. They have all of the fires going at the moment. So there's a large percentage of the population without power. So that is not surprising. California, I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but in Merced, there is 5,472 people without power. Those are the only two states showing where they're having some significant power outages. So according to the updates currently, that's the only people that are having power outages. So and this is brought to us. You can go to poweroutage.us and check this out if you are interested in getting information about power outages in your area. We'll look at the Weather Channel. Here's a map. This is one of the few maps I believe lies. Brenda says that she's glad she don't live there anymore. Yes. There, California has some weird weather. The tree pollen map. Well, it looks like now it's pretty much time for the Chesapeake Bay, Baltimore, DC area to enjoy some of the fun we've had here in the Deep South. That's going to extend across the Ohio Valley into the Midwest. The South is getting a little bit of a break right now from the pollen, but it's only increasing on the southwest side of Texas and towards the Rockies over to the coast because it's warming up. So weed pollen is almost null at the moment. Well, that is unless they cut your lawn. And we'll look at grass pollen. Well, it's in the south. Everybody's grass is starting to be mowed. And, well, in the Deep South, lower Alabama, Mississippi, lower Georgia, and part of pretty much the panhandle of the Gulf of Mexico is where it's the worst right now. I like to look at this map for the aches and pains, even though I don't totally understand the science behind it, but it shows that most of the aches and pains are pretty mild throughout the country, with the only ones being around the Four Corners section and up in Idaho, up in there. Otherwise, it looks like the aches and pains map, according to the weatherchannel.com, is that's where that's at. So, all right, you have that. And what do we have next here? This is where we're going to get into this air quality. And wait a minute, I also have a video to share. All right, so let's share video. I have two videos I want to share before we get off of the weather subject. I found this one, and I don't know what these people were thinking. No, go up here. There we go. Which one? This one. We'll start with this one. On screen, play. I don't know if there's any. Oh no, this ain't the one I wanted. Ain't the one I wanted. Hold on, why is it not showing? That's a funny video, but that's not the one I wanted. Download video. This one? All right. I'll try it and see. I don't know what the heck it is. So, play. Where's it at? Come on. Here we go. Show on screen. Play.
All right. So we're going to talk about
either. Nope, that ain't it either. Yes, they both had sound. Why is it not? All right. Why can I not share that one? All right, I'm going to figure this out if this kills me, because I downloaded this video trying to figure out what in the world was going on with these people. Share video, yes. Understand. All right. Downloads. It's not showing today's videos. Hold on. This is crazy. Why is it not showing today's videos? RP. Okay, well, let's just do it another way. All right. Share screen. I can do that. I understand. It'll be window. That one. Share. And then let's see if we see this one. Hold on, let me bring it over here and show it on this one. There's no sound really on this one. But look at this. This is a tornado and the workers are still working. What in the heck? That's crazy. You're not able to see that because it's not on screen. What in the heck is going on? Show on screen. There we go. Good Lord. All right, let me rewind it. This is workers working on a building. There's a tornado coming through. They probably didn't have a weather radio. What in the heck were they thinking? Yeah, this is on Texas on a job site, and they're on a rooftop. They are on a roof right there. You're looking at them holding onto a roof for dear life. What in the Sam heck? I don't understand. Why are they hanging onto a rooftop during a tornado? You can plainly see the tornado. If somebody had had a weather radio there, that could have been prevented. Crazy. All right, let's see. Close that one. I think this other video is pretty much the same, but we'll play it as well. It's just another view of a tornado going through this construction area. They are on top of a building, and these guys are trying to stop a roll of insulation that probably weighs about as much as they do. Look at this. And they're hanging on. Why? Is that not the craziest thing you've seen? They're hanging on to the roof, hoping they don't get blown away. If they had a weather radio, yeah, their supervisor is a jerk. I agree with you 100%. So, yeah, I don't understand why they were doing that. And then one last one, let me bring it up. When we were talking about the fires, just look at this. This is the storms last night in New Jersey. I say storms. These are the firestorms. Look at that. That's crazy. And they had to evacuate quickly and move out. Says OSHA may have had a problem with that. They were wearing their safety glasses, Chris. So, all right, that's video from the fires yesterday. Unbelievable, and how quickly they moved. I think they said at one point in time there was 8,000 active acres. Well, we'll get an update here in a minute. But yeah, the fire departments had to de-ass the area. And this is why you see the power is out, because all the power poles are burned up as well. So yeah, it's ugly. All right, so we'll talk about poor air quality. Well, we see, if we zoom in, New York, New Jersey up there, it's very unhealthy. Stay inside if you're sensitive. In the New York, New Jersey area, really bad wind. Wind conditions, but really bad smoke conditions and air quality. And that's going to extend down into the Delmarva, down into the Acatcheek, the Chesapeake Bay region of the country, where that smoke's pushing downward, and the entire East Coast is going to have some really poor air quality because of the smoke. We see pretty much all of lower Alabama and West Georgia is going to have some poor air quality today. Up in the Four Corners region around the Rocky Mountains, where some of those fires are, you're going to see some poor air quality. Most of the poor air quality out there today is because of smoke conditions. So, and we see, as we saw in the one wind map, it's pushing it up along here in the Rocky Mountains, Kansas City area, where it's going to get worse, but there's very little winds in the northeast. Let's bring up the air pollution map for the world. No, get off screen. For the entire world. Let me take off the weather stations so you get a better view of this. As we can see, the fires, that's where the worst air quality is, like we were talking about. Over in New York, New Jersey, pretty much all of New Jersey is burning right now. There's some very large fires there. So, but it's pushing that smoke down along the coastline, and it's not going to go out to sea for a little while. We see that the smoke conditions pretty much are going to be in the lower 48, almost across the entire 48, to be honest, because of fires is the worst pollutant at the moment. So, yeah, if you're in the lower 48, pretty much anticipate some poor air quality and smoky conditions. The further south you go, it's only going to get worse, especially around the Mississippi, Mobile area, Louisiana, Mobile area. We'll zoom out and look and see. Well, down in South America, it's not too good either. Pretty much all of North Africa is poor condition. Right pretty much along the equator is where you see most of the poor air quality is. Australia, you're fairly lucky. You're not going to have too bad of air quality, but your smoke conditions are going to be pretty heavy right around the Orange, Dubbo, and Griffith area. That's pretty much where the worst smoke conditions and pollutant conditions are going to be. Coming from Wahala up through the center of the country, going northwest, there is some smoke coming from that fire that's going to cause a little bit of air quality problems, but it's going to dissipate the further northwest it gets. And then down off the coast of Perth, north of Perth, those winds are rotating the smoke down into your scenic area. So, all right, there is the world pollution map and air quality. And we'll make, since that made Brenda happy, we'll jump it out here and we'll make the big, blue, beautiful, perfect globe. This is AI's version of wind. It adds in the smoke and pollutants, and we see how they're traveling across. No, it wouldn't be across, it would be around the globe. So we see that pressure is just pushing from the Atlantic, hitting that warm Gulf moisture air, going up and into the Rockies, where it's getting that turbulence, and that's going to create the thunderstorms in that area today. And that area is only the tornado alley this summer, because of the way it's pushed the warm waters in. It's going to happen earlier and be more intense than it has been in past because of that. Now we zoom out and look at the big, beautiful, round, perfect globe. And I said around the equator, but it's actually not around the equator. It is mostly around the equator, but it's north of the equator. Southern hemisphere is not, maybe that's where we need to live, is the southern hemisphere, because Look at that. The air quality is better. Everything looks better on the southern hemisphere. Wonder why. What has man done to it? That's probably the better question. So, all right, let's close this one out and move on for the day. We'll jump over here to our space forecast, and we'll look and see where the aurora is anticipated for today. Okay, full screen, please. There we go. We see that they're saying that the aurora pretty much is going to stay up into the northern hemisphere and not make it down past the Canadian border. And there's no predicted sunstorms or anticipation of increased activity other than the normal amount. No geostorms. It's always a good thing, right? All right, well, look at this. Look at all these fires up here in the northeast. Right now, it's a bad time in New Jersey, New York area, but they're not alone in their fires. Along the coastline, there's still the fires in the Carolinas. Jumping down into Florida, your fire risk increased yesterday significantly, causing you to have some fires. Anybody with outdoor flames in the South this time of year is pretty much an idiot. You shouldn't be burning right now. It's the wrong time of year to burn. But as we zoom out, we see the smoke from these fires just sitting pretty much coming down from the south. It's going to sit in the Gulf of America. If you're on an oil rig working out there in the Gulf of America, it's a cloudy, smoggy, smoky day. And if you look to the northwest, just to, well, we can say pretty much from Kansas up, that fire there is producing a lot of because of the way the wind is flowing, a lot of the smoke up into Sioux City. And of course, they have fires up there all the way up into Wisconsin, almost to the Canadian border. So, but if you look at the number of fires, well, there's a lot of fires burning right now. We'll jump over. This shows us the largest ones. Now, this map obviously is not updated because it's not showing any for New Jersey. So I'm just going to take this map right off of here because we know better. Zoom in up here with this. And we'll see, yeah, right here, just south of Tom's River. I'm not sure what county this is, but they're having so many fires right now. It's uncontrolled. I don't have do I have let's see, Jones Road, 8,500 acres. And it was started by humans. Shocker. Southerner plus outdoor flames equals idiot. Well, hold my beer. I'm sure somebody will at me for that, Chris, but it's true. As a firefighter, let me tell you, it's right now is the wrong time. But there's idiots burning crap. Guy behind us here at this neighborhood is burning stuff. And go out there with a smoke extinguisher or fire extinguisher and spray it in his face. So we see the fires in the Carolinas on the south side of the Appalachia. Well, they're getting controlled slowly, but it's a long process. 2,000 acres in B-Rock still burning. Down a little bit to the south of there, Sam Davis Road, 559. They haven't determined how a lot of these were caused. 150 is in the South Carter Cove. That's in the Tennessee-Georgia border. This one's in actual North Georgia. 118 acres in Crows Creek. So that's an old one, though. So, but yeah, and then we look again at the smoke right in the center of the country. That smoke was just sitting there and growing. So, yeah. Jump over here to this one. I believe this map is probably our most accurate one. This comes to us from the National Forestry Service and NASA. And we zoom in up here, up into New Jersey. Yeah, we see this area is just right now. Let's see. Are they telling us how many acres is burning? We know it was 8,500. No, this doesn't really tell you how many acres are burning. I guess we need a new update. I would check back with FEMA, but they're not very helpful at the moment. The little red dots are detections of fire from a satellite or somebody's called it in. They have not been determined as to if it's a real fire or not. Look down in the Appalachia here where I was talking about 119,000 acres in Morgan Brock, which is on the Carolina side of the Appalachia. But we also see some heavy fire activity over in Asheville, and it looks as though they're getting it contained, and that is in the Well, it's in the southwest of Asheville. I know as a firefighter, it's hard for me not to just sit and scan through all of these fires because of, you know, trying to figure out, what caused them and stuff like that. But yeah, Florida, 270,000 acres, 0.42 miles, and it's not showing contained. That is it's in Deltona, and it's saying power line. So I wondered if power line caused that. I did hear them saying up in Maryland that there was a forest fire caused by a power line. I heard them talking about it on the radio. Much of the South right now is experiencing fires in the Southeast. A lot of these to the west of us are prescribed burns. So always a good thing. So, but there is your current fire map. You can find this at firms.modsmap. Just search out, if you're interested in seeing this, search out the U.S. Forestry NASA fire map, and it'll bring it right up. And it's pretty much real time. This is the fan favorite. It's that time of day where we get the plasma screen kicked on, turn off the lights, put on the Tai Chi music, and look at the big, beautiful, perfect round globe and the wind conditions. Look at, like we were talking about earlier, that pushing it right along the South Atlantic up and through the Gulf of America, where it's hitting right there. And you can almost just make that turbulence out. We'll probably be able to see it when we get over to the flight radar, but it's making all that turbulence, which is trying to come back to the southeast and creating some violent storms. The potential for violent storms will only increase as the day gets warmer. We look down along the Australian section of the globe. We see, like we were talking about, it's mild wind, pretty windy, non-windy, eventful day in Australia. There was nothing that I saw on the Atlantic or Pacific as far as anything to watch. That one up there, I don't know if it's just because it's not in warm enough water. It's just kind of sitting up there. So it's not been flagged yet. But so far, everything is pushing to the southeast, which is a good sign if you're on the Atlantic coast. Nothing in the Pacific as of yet. All right, this is brought to us by our friends at the USGS. Any earthquake over 2.5, it will show us. And we see that the most recent one was in Puerto Rico. Gosh, those people down there, they've had the power outages. They've got small earthquakes, 3.7, 2.8. Wyoming, that's not exactly what I want to say, but okay. All right. Well, I get it. So Wyoming had an earthquake. I wasn't aware Wyoming had earthquakes. Those roofers need to have their head on a swivel. Her foreman seems to have no clue. I agree wholeheartedly, because that was just crazy. Let's see. So we look in Puerto Rico has had several, and we zoom out and we see there's been several in Alaska and then down in the islands of Alaska. We'll look in a minute and see what the volcanic activity is for those areas. I'll try and get out of here on time today. All right, so let me refresh this, make the screen bigger, and we will see the most recent activity is in the Philippine Sea. And, well, it didn't really show it to me. Show it to me. There we go. Earthquake 4.4. Good Lord. It was an hour and 47 minutes ago to the southwest of Taiwan. Let's see. China's had an earthquake. Bolivia's had an earthquake. Another one in Tibet. A large 5.0 in Istanbul. And Turkey had a 4.3. And New Zealand, that's not far away from Australia, 4.6 7 hours ago. We're getting further away timestamp wise. And those are pretty much the only significant ones I see in the past few hours. When I say significant, I don't mean to downplay a 4.1 or 4.5, but usually they don't have any reported injuries until they get a little bit more than that. So, but the most recent one, according to this, was in, where do we say? Turkey? No, Japan. The most recent one of 4.4 in, that was in the Taiwan region an hour and 47 minutes ago. We zoom out and we go to the global disaster alert system, and we see pretty much what we've talked about. They're not as up to date as we are on their earthquakes, because we just saw the most recent one. The most recent one they're showing is Turkey, but we saw that there was one more recent than that. And tropical cyclones, where's that one? Won't show us. Won't show us. There we go. Tropical cyclone 31-25. That's the one that was off of the northwest of Australia, and it's continuing to head north. It's going to go out of your radar here very soon. You won't be worried about it. Volcanoes. Costa Rica is the most recent volcanic activity, and it's showing that it well, that's a report from the no. Okay, well, that's the most recent volcanic activity. We'll go to the event list globally real quick here. And we talked about biological or animal attacks. We talked about Israel. Well, that was stupid. Don't pet the sharks. Seems pretty common sense to me. I don't know. Let's see. Hungary, nothing new there. They were talking about the foot and mouth a few days ago. And let's see, nothing new there. Let's see. Nigeria, measles outbreak has hit a community ahead of a vaccine launch. Oh, there you go. Let's put it out there first. Canada, 29 new cases of measles in Alberta, bringing the Canadian total to 118. And we scan through here, looking to see the most recent things. The Netherlands, Dutch intelligence reports a cyber attack from Russia. Well, we talk about that pretty much every day. Doesn't say what they attacked. Let's see if we can pull that up here. Dutch military intelligence has warned about growing attacks from Russia in an effort to destabilize society. The intelligence report also cited threats from China and its support from Moscow. Russian hackers targeted a Dutch public facility last year. Dutch military intelligence agency and security service MIVD reported on Tuesday the target was the digital control system of an undisclosed Dutch public facility in the first known Russian attack on the Netherlands' critical infrastructure, the MIVD said in its annual report. The report reviewed other cyber attacks against European allies of Ukraine amid the ongoing war. The Netherlands is an interesting target country for Moscow due to its continued support for Ukraine, the MIVD last said. Dutch Defense Minister Ruben Breckensma stated that 172 million for Ukraine's air defense system. We see the Russian threat against Europe is increasing, including after a possible end to the war against Ukraine. Yes, they were both coming to the table, I believe in France, to have peace talks, and both sides have finally agreed to a ceasefire. Let's see if that happens. We know about all the Houthi activity. We know about what's going on in Sudan, in Armenia. We know about things going on there. We talked about that yesterday. It does have it here. In India, 5 tourists were dead after the attack. That was overnight in India. And footage in Belgium. So there's a shooting in broad daylight. We talked about that one. Let's see. Pakistan power outages spark protest in Pakistan. They also had an earthquake over there. 17 terrorists were killed overnight in Pakistan and Punjab. And let's see, that's old. That's fairly there. Okay, this is a couple days old, but I don't think we covered this one. Florida Marine Transportation Barge 3112 Allison and discharge of ethanol. I don't remember seeing this one. This just popped up. This is an ecological disaster. On April 21st, 2022, a Florida Marine Transportation barge alighted with a bridge in Melville at mile marker 30 of the Attahapachuli, I don't have a clue, river along the left ascending bank. The bark was carrying a total of 14,000 barrels, approximately 600,000 gallons of ethanol distributed between 4 tanks. One of the tanks is damaged and discharged ethanol into the river. The U.S. Coast Guard requested NOAA support. Ethanol's fact sheets were provided to the Coast Guard. Okay. Well, that was on a barge. It struck a bridge in Melville, Florida. Melville, Florida looks to be... Why does it say Florida? That's Louisiana. See, that's what I was wondering. It said Florida. A Florida Marine Transportation. Okay. Well, I don't know why a Florida Marine Transportation barge was in Melville, Louisiana, but apparently it struck a bridge and leaked ethanol into the river, and downstream is going to be an issue. What is a Florida barge doing in... I don't know. That makes no sense to me. All right. So if you're in Louisiana, that's what that is about. And I don't know why they have that tagged as a Florida barge, but it's northwest of Baton Rouge. And I'm sure it'll all come downstream to you guys. So let's see. 2 injured in a substation explosion in Kuwait. I think we talked about that. Fire erupts at a capital city after a car exploded. That was breaking as we came on in the Russian Federation. There was video of a skyscraper that had fire and smoke. It looked like extended from the front of the building up a couple floors. That was breaking as we came on. South Africa, another fire erupted at Timsbia Hospital, raising concerns over safety. Well, I can see that. And let's see. I think that's the most recent thing there. Outdoors fire, of course, we talked about New Jersey. It's continuing to grow. Evacuation orders for many. And, of course, the order to stay inside. And we talked about earthquakes. Bolivia 4.0, South America. The strongest one apparently was in Turkey overnight. Landslides block a Boxed highway, and a tourist died. 4 injured in Balatan's, Pakistan. And United States, Kilauea, well, it's active again overnight, and so was the Spur volcano. And we talked about flooding, tsunami. Okay, that one's new, 423. That's today. Let's pull that up. That's in northwest of Palmer, Alaska. Let's pull this one up. This one's new to me. A tsunami information sheet, preliminary magnitude 4.5 earthquake, as information statements indicate that an earthquake has occurred but did not pose a tsunami threat, or that a tsunami warning advisory or watch has been issued in another section. All right, so let's zoom out here and see. That was northwest of Anchorage. So they say there's no tsunami threat, but they did post a warning, which is interesting. All right. It was a warning, right? Was it not? I want to make sure I'm reading that right, because that's now I'm going to say I'm saying it wrong. Earthquake. Earthquake occurred but did not pose a threat. Okay. All right. So I guess there was some questions about it, and they wanted to make sure. South Atlantic Ocean over desert injured on a platform fire. I did see that one. It was what they called it unoccupied, but there was 14 people on it, and they were jumping overboard to get off of the platform. It was an old platform, oil platform out in the ocean. China, bridge collapses in Beijing, no casualty. Nigeria, overnight a building collapse. Death toll is now 7. And several trees mysteriously chopped down by vandals. Okay, this is new. In Louisiana. All right, it's caused some. Let's read about this. Is this a new terror thing? Multiple trees in downtown Louisiana. Downtown Louisiana. Okay, downtown LA. Jesus Christ. Multiple trees in downtown Los Angeles have been senselessly knocked down in the city by vandals along the South Grand Avenue. Residents in the area woke up Saturday to find that several trees scattered around Grand Hope Park had been mowed down illegally. Many of the cut trees fell into the street and obstructed some sidewalk. I saw a tree on Olympic and Hope that was chopped in half. I thought it was, something that the city did, said Media Muse, who was puzzled by the fallen trees. As I'm walking around, I see a few other trees right above us on the grand there. Well, 3 across from Wells Fargo in the center were chopped down. They posted a video of the trees online on social media and began to get messages of concerns from his followers and people around the city, saying they started getting messages all over that it was not a city job and it was by vandals overnight cutting down trees. A very sinister act. All right, so apparently that's a new thing. They're going around cutting down trees. Brenda says you get cut. Brenda, speaking of that, I've got a Mountain Dew, and it is a Baja Cabo citrus Mountain Dew. And if you'd like to buy me a Mountain Dew, the links are in the chat, or not in the chat, in the show description where you can buy me a Mountain Dew. All right, so apparently that's a new thing. We got to worry about them cutting our trees down. That's a weird one. But then again, we have to worry about people starting fires as well. I don't like people sometimes. Let's see. A trainee pilot killed his aircraft crashed in India. I think we talked about that one. And let's see. That one's new. Eight of family killed, 6 injured as vehicle falls off a bridge in India. All right. 6 killed in a head-on collision in South Africa. Pakistan truck falls into a ravine in southern Pakistan, killing 13. On I-65, a massive fire shut down part of a highway in Indiana. Yeah, I saw that one. Nigeria, 5 dead, 13 injured in a auto crash. Okay, in Netherlands, 2 crewmen were injured as OSV hits wind turbine in the Dutch North Sea. Tugboat collides with a railroad bridge in Louisiana. That's one we talked about. Condor. Let's see, that's old. And that's old. We get to the weather. We talked about the cyclones. We haven't really covered the drought recently. And, well, it's raining everywhere. And let's see if there's anything. What is it with fog? I still haven't looked that up. In Pecos County, Texas, there was a tornado overnight as well. All right. Well, I say overnight, but since we last talked, how about that? All right. This is the disaster alert map. It's pretty much the same thing, except it's more colorful. Chris says that Indiana wreck was like 20 minutes from me. They had to completely resurface the road. Yeah, the fire looked pretty bad. It was 2 tractor and trailers that collided, and one of them was a tanker, wasn't it, Chris? If I remember seeing it correctly. I have a group on Facebook called Fire and EMS Public Safety. If you want to join it, I post up there. Of course, I also have a Facebook group for the Paranormal guys on Facebook, and I also have a Facebook group for the Sportcat Daily Gazette. I want people to come over and post stories and things of interest that they'd like to see talked about on the show. All right, zoom out here a little bit. And pretty much what we talked about, the winds and fire, right around the center part of the country. The fires up in the northeast. We covered all of that. Volcanic activity, we talked about that down in Hawaii. So that will drop down under and see. We talked about the rains and flooding in South Wales, Australia, Brisbane. Winds coming up 2 minutes ago. High winds were reported. All right, well, that's good information. And that's an old report. And 2 hours ago, a wildfire in, where is that? That is in Byfield, Queensland, Australia. That was reported 2 hours ago. And these are all old fires reported in the Northern Territories. And then we have, that's old as well. All right. So, all right, we're about to lose Radio X Australia and Jurg's Radio. I appreciate you for tuning in and allowing me to tickle your ears. You can get in touch with me at Sportcat on X, or Sportcat Medic on most other places, or at Sportcat. You can find me if you want to buy me a Mountain Dew. Links are always in the show description post-show. And I have a new thing. I guess I should make the screen large here that I like to share with everybody. Let me How do I make my screen larger? Double click. There, that's me. See, that's me. I have a new morale patch. This is me at the Thin Line Rock Station. Is that backwards? It's backwards, isn't it? Let me try and figure out how to do this. Video. Mirror my video. There we go. All right, so there you go. And it is a morale patch. It is a flag with the Thin Line Rock Station. Of course, I'm a DJ there. Tuesdays and Thursdays, noon till 2 o'clock. You can catch me there. And we see the Thin Line logo. It has a gray, orange, white and blue, yellow, red and blue and green line flagged, all representing different branches of either military, fire, EMS, and no one rocks alone with the Sportcat down there. We have a morale patch. If you're interested, contact me at Sportcat or Sportcat at protonmail.com. You can also get me by sending me a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Sportcat. I'm going to get out of here with Radio X in Australia, and I'll sign off with the rest of you guys here in just a second. But I want everybody at Radio X in Australia and Thin Line Rock Station and Yerg's Radio and Rainbow Radio to have a great day. Thank you for allowing me to tickle your ears for a few hours. And I'm going to turn it over now to Yerg's Radio and David Breckmeyer. Have a great day. Okay, we are no longer on. I didn't mean to totally hide myself. We're no longer on Yerg's Radio, Radio X. So I signed off with them. We'll skim through this briefly. New England FireNet. Well, you can guess the whole Northeast is pretty active right now. Shooting in Manhattan. They're double shooting. 61-year-old female DOA. 23-year-old male gunshot to the wound. What? Gunshot leg to the wound. What is wrong with people? Another person stabbed in Patterson, New Jersey. We talked about this. You need to be prepared. People are using knives now. Watch the proximity you are with people. Stay away from people if at all possible. Do not let them get in your proximity. We look at the air, see what's up above. There's a lot of planes up above. Let's zoom it out and just take and put in the military. And we see, well, we're going to see they're probably active over the fires, which doesn't surprise me. And let's see, we're going to see a lot of, it's NATO. Why is NATO bringing in something? Where is that one coming from? NATO is bringing in stuff from, well, it last touched down in Sweden, but it was probably Sweden. So, okay, so NATO is bringing stuff in, and it looks as though we're taking stuff out. So who knows where that one's headed. There is an ongoing troop rotation and movement. I'm trying to see if we can zoom in and find any tankers here. We know that they've been monitoring things along the coast. C-130, that's just a transport. That's a spooky one. It's not showing anything, but it's circling around out there for some reason. Okay. The P-8s. What is a P-8? A P-8, I believe, is a sub hunter. So it looks as though the P-8s are down off of the coast of Florida, searching around. And see, that's a Coast Guard. We have over here. That's also a transport plane. It was going out to, where's this trail drop off? Drops off right here, the other side of Bermuda. Wonder if it's going to make that turn and come into here. Wonder if that's where that plane is headed. Wonder if that's one of the special planes right now coming out of St. Petersburg, Tampa. It looks as though it drops off the radar of where they're squawking, and it's going to come around. I bet you that transport plane that is going to Coast Guard at that. Interesting. I bet you it's going to come right down here and land in this little section of this country that starts with a G that has a prison. What do you think? You think that's true? All right. And I'm trying to see if there's anything really interesting. No. Tanker is probably refueling some things as he goes along. C-130. That's probably a training flight. It doesn't look like it's got a whole lot of other activity. Unless they were... Yeah, it's probably a training flight. And C-17 is just moving stuff around. Always a lot of activity down here along the Gulf Coast. These helicopters are continually training. Elgin's Air Force Base, they're always training. That is a C-30. So there are a lot of training flights along the coastline. Brenda, over by you, well, we know they're always doing something there. You can see the helicopter activity, the Blackhawks, and this little plane. That's a fighter pilot probably training. This is probably a fighter pilot training as well. So a lot of training down there. Very rarely do you see anything other than that. That's just a troop or equipment mover there. So no call sign there. Blackhawk up over the Rockies, and R-135. Looking to see, like I said, if there's anything big going on, but I don't see anything interesting besides for the 38s off of the coastline there. Makes me curious what they're doing out there, what the sub hunter's doing out there. Maybe he's just training. And of course, there's always activity along the border. So, but yeah, that one plane, Coast Guard plane, interesting. The Coast Guard plane taking that route and then disappearing off radar right on the other side of that island that starts with a C. It'll probably turn and go into that area known as a G. So, all right. Well, that's pretty much everything. I didn't see anything new when I was going through this earlier, besides for the meteorological events for flight awareness. There's still the space operations going on off of the coast. I believe that's SpaceX. We have the same warnings that we always have up around DC. They've actually enlarged it for a VIP, so somebody must be going to the northwest. We see down there the air show sports. Just kind of zooming around to see if I see anything jumps out under flight restrictions or flight aware. Nothing there. And this one is the big one from Flight Service that I enhanced a lot. That's got a lot of data on it. If we notice this area, they have in a specific flight plan pattern here recently around the country that starts with a C. And of course, they're still watching things down off this coastline here. So we keep an eye on that. And that's pretty much the same thing. Somebody was talking about on another channel that there has been a balloon floating, and its elevation has been up in the 82,000 feet, and it's come from the center of the country, and it's just sitting off the coast of the Atlantic. I cannot find anywhere that's tracking it, but they say there's a very balloon at high altitude just sitting over the Atlantic in the 80,000 feet range, monitoring something. There is all of the marine traffic for the world. Kind of hard to make out, just like the plane traffic, except for they're everywhere. We take off some of the things. This is non-military. These are ships at port or at sea, are underway. And we take a look and see where the space shuttle is. The space shuttle is currently, well, it's covering the West Coast at the moment. And it's just entering daylight for them. And we look at the low Earth satellites here. I goofed off with this a little bit earlier. And like there, of course, so we take the beams off of the instruments. Yes, it'll actually show the beams, but you can zoom in to like more of your specific area. Because I was just playing with this earlier to see if you could kind of see like what was above. Oh, I went too far. Above, well, hold on, go back up. I want to zoom in right around the southern coast here, and you can actually get a pretty good look of the satellites overhead traveling. But man, this thing is so sensitive, you can't move it a whole lot. And see what is almost pretty much directly overhead. An unknown rogue balloon has Andy written all over it. I suspect retaliation for the test messages. Could be. Man, this is so sensitive. But you can zoom down pretty close to see what is above your skies at this current time. But it is so sensitive when you move it. But yeah, I was trying to see what was flying over the south a little while ago, and it's pretty interesting to see. And then I'll turn on the debris, and we'll just look up. And, well, the debris is not that bad currently. How does the things not collide is my question. But that is being tracked, of course, by NORAD. Look at one last thing here, and then we'll get out of here. Bird migration in the past 24 hours. We showed this yesterday, pretty much up the northwest, and they're going to be starting to travel. They're taking advantage of the winds and letting the winds help guide them, and they're going more to the west now that it's warming up out there. But they're taking advantage of those winds to get aloft and go further. Live cyber threats. Well, let's just go to the other one. We'll get out of here. It's always hopping. There's always something going. Well, it's not. Is it down? I say that and it's not working. Oh, there we go. All right. So that is the live cyber threats right now. We see that, of course, the U.S. is being pounded, of course. All right. Well, I'm going to get out of here. I think we've covered about everything. One of these days, I'm going to get to line of duty deaths for police and fire. We'll talk about them at some point in time, but so far I haven't managed to find time to fit it in yet, but we'll get it. I want to thank everybody. Of course, you guys are my loyal followers that have hung around for the past few minutes. If you want to give me a Mountain Dew, links in the description. If you want a patch, hit me up. I'll get you hooked up. And everybody else, have a great day. I will see you tonight at 9. Don't forget, Para Our Normal Guys. We got a great show coming up tonight. You will love it. But I'm going to get out of here for tonight. Everybody have a great day. I will talk to you tonight at 9, where I'll be joined by my lovely ladies. Well, actually, I think tonight is only Amanda, but I'll be joined by Amanda, and we're going to be talking about comic books. Everybody have a great day. I will see you soon.